Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, first of all, like I say every week, thank you so much for checking out Magic TV. If you've watched any videos or shared or subscribed or liked, I really appreciate it. If it wasn't for you lot watching these videos, this channel wouldn't exist. Now, with that being said, the Q&A is one of my favourite videos of the whole week. I'm going to take all of the questions that you asked and give you answers to them. Now, the questions aren't read beforehand. You're literally getting my raw, unfiltered opinions. And if I think a question is deserving of a longer kind of video, I'll let you know that, and I will plan that in sort of the next week or so. The other thing that's worth noting is that I film these typically on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. So if you want to guarantee to get the questions answered, you want to get these questions into me really by Monday at the latest. If I miss your question, I'm very sorry. Ask it down below and I will get back to it next week. With that being said, there are a metric ton of emails and questions. Looking at them now, they look like a load, which is amazing. So I'm going to get straight into it with this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Sean McNulty Magician, who says, "Hi mate, hi Sean, hope you're well." I'm well. He says, "Hope you're well as well. I have the Mirage coin set and the shell is getting stuck on the coins about 70% of the time when nesting it. This is after dropping only once and no signs of wear. Are there any ways of fixing this to make it better? Thanks." Yeah, I mean, the problem with shells, especially well-made shells, a shell that's well-made, like the Mirage coin set, obviously all of those made by Roy Cooper's, but any shell that's well-made, they're going to be quite thin, so you drop them in a wrong way and it can cause something like this to happen. Now, what will fix this 95% of the time is to try this. Of course, you're not saying it's getting stuck completely. I imagine it's getting stuck in one little section. So here's how I would suggest you try to fix it. And if it doesn't work, let me know and I'll give you another idea. But this is what I think will work. Get yourself a magician's silk. You know, the sort of the silks that magicians use when they're vanishing silks, but quite a big one. And what you're going to do is you're going to double it over in half, and you're going to put it over the coin, and then you're going to put the shell on top. Okay, then put something heavy on top of that and leave it for around about, well, you know, leave it for a few hours really, to be honest. Because what's happening is you're going to have to push that shell on, but by having the silk inside the shell, what's going to happen is it's going to kind of expand the shell out a little bit. It takes time to do that though. So you're going to put the silk on, you're going to put the shell over the top. You might need to push down really hard to lock it in place. And then when you've done that, leave it a few hours and then pull on the silk and the shell will pop off. Now, when you've done that, put the shell back on the coin and you should find that that'll fix things up. If it doesn't, double the handkerchief up. So double it up again and do exactly the same thing. And that's going to push it out even further. Again, put it under something like a book and leave it for a few hours, maybe even overnight. And then in the morning, you go back to it, you pull on the hanky, that's going to pop the coin out, and that's going to have pushed the shell even further out. Now, if you repeat this like 2 or 3 times over the course of a couple of days, you should find that that's going to kind of very naturally expand the shell slightly, which is going to cause the problem that you're having to be fixed. That is what I would do. That's what I've done with a lot of my shells when I've dinged them, and that's what fixes it. So try that, and if you're still having a problem, let me know, but that should work. Okay, so the next question is from Hankster27, who says, "Hi, so I know you've reviewed Ditto, Vanish, and one other trick with a post-it note, but other than that, why don't you review illusionist items? If you could do a review special or 2 on them, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks." I've actually reviewed a load of illusionist items over the last few years. Way more than that. I mean, I think I did the Stack Watch 1, I did the Stack Watch 2, I've done some of their gaff decks, I did the pointing book that Mark Lemon did, I did a review show on one of their how to read mindsets, I don't know which one. I've done quite a few over the time. The problem with Illusionist is, don't forget, I have to buy everything that I review. I don't get sent items. Now, occasionally, somebody will send me an item, which is great, and I'll always let you guys know that, but 95% of the stuff that I review, I buy it. And the problem with Illusionist, right, is it's very expensive to get the stuff into the UK. A lot of the time, there's a lot of shipping, and then you have to pay, you know, customs and stuff when it comes in. It seems to be worse with Illusionist than anything else. So what I tend to do is I tend to wait for 4 or 5 things to come out before and I'll put an order in for 4 or 5 things, and I'll review them over the coming weeks once they've come in. So I've actually got an order that's going in a couple of days' time for some of their new stuff that I will be looking at. I've got a RubiCup, which I'm in the middle of looking at. I haven't actually reviewed it yet, but I will be. But yeah, there's loads of stuff that I've reviewed. It's way more stuff than that. Like the thing they did with the other brothers with the thought of card, a lot of their stuff they brought out with Christian Grace I've reviewed. I do review. I try and keep on top of a lot of the Ellusionist stuff, but that's the reason. They don't bring stuff out that frequently, and also I kind of wait for 4 or 5 things to come in before I do an order, because then that makes it a bit cheaper for me. But yeah, keep watching. You'll see more reviews of Ellusionist stuff. Promise. Okay, so the next question is user JL5QY3UF3T. That rolls off the tongue. Saying, "Hi Craig, I don't know if you recall, but you entered a magic competition at the Blackpool Magic Convention many years ago. I think Russell was competing as well. From what I recall, you did a routine with music clips that was driving the narrative. This music punctuated the effects with quick fire succession of tricks. I thought it was really unique and a lot of hard work had gone into it. I'm interested in your experience of doing this, what you think of magic convention competitions, and what you would do now if you entered a magic competition, and whether you'd do the act you did back in the day differently. And whether you would do the act you did back in the day, you did back then differently. Thanks, Phil." So yeah, I used to enter a lot of magic competitions, won some, didn't win others, and I entered Blackpool Magic Convention's competition twice. They don't really do competitions anymore, but I entered Blackpool Magic Convention's close-up competition twice. And the first year, I did a fairly standard competition act, so there was nothing special about it. I think I did a version of it was technically quite advanced. I did a version of the Human Slot Machine by Carney, which is a production of an absolute load of coins. I did that. I did some really cool card stuff, but it was just a normal act. It was just stuff that I did, and I didn't place. And they asked me to compete again the following year, and Russell was competing as well. And I thought, well, okay, doing the stuff that I did, it got a good reaction the year before, but I didn't place. And I was like, okay, so the stuff that I did the previous year didn't work. So maybe I should actually put a competition act together. And I thought that using music would be an interesting way to actually put an act together, a close-up act together. Now, at the time, I hadn't really performed on stage much. And the close-up competitions that were at Blackpool, honestly, they may as well have been stage competitions, because they took place in front of hundreds of people. And there were so many people in the audience. It was basically a stage competition, but close-up. If I had more experience performing on stage, which I got later on in my career, like at this point now I do pretty much exclusively stage magic. But if I had that experience of stage magic back when I was putting this competition act together, I think it would have been a lot better, because I know more about musicality and I know more about structuring acts, and I think it would have been a little bit better. But yeah, the whole idea was, the actual act was that I bought a little radio out, and it was a little iPod. And I literally came up and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'd like to perform some I'd like to perform some magic to music for you." And I reached forward and I pressed play on the iPod. And when I did, the music started. And it was beautiful classical music to start. And then you kind of hear as if the iPod has stopped working, and the music changed. And so I'm kind of reacting to the music changing, and as I hear the music changing, I'm trying to adapt the type of magic that I'm doing to the music that's been playing. So I think that the first thing was, it was like, give a man enough rope. So I'd reach into my pocket and pull out a little piece of rope, and I'd show it to the audience, and I would hold it like this. And then it went, and it gets longer and bigger and bigger and longer. And as you did that, I kind of just pulled it between my hands, and the rope became really, really long. And then it was something like, and it was something to do with a pack of cards, and I produced the deck of cards and showed the deck inside the deck of cards, and I think it then went into something to do with coins, and I snapped, and as I pulled the cards out, it turned into coins. So the whole idea is the whole act was structured around adapting what I was doing to the music that was playing over the course of the iPod. And it did take a long time to put that together. I actually went to a recording studio, and I probably spent 2 or 3 days in a recording studio putting all of this track together, and it was like a 9-minute track. And the finale was the iPod vanished. So I took the iPod, and the iPod vanished, and that was the end of the act. And it was great. It was really good. And a lot of people had so many positive comments to make about it. I would have done it differently if I'd done it now. I think the effects that I picked weren't suitable for that competition. They were great close-up tricks, but I think in order to win that competition, or in order to place in that competition, I think you need to do stuff that's bigger, that plays bigger. Think Eric Chen, think Shin Lim. You know, you kind of can still do close-up, but it needs to be more theatrical close-up. And that was really a mistake I made due to lack of experience. It was a good idea, but I don't think I had the experience or the knowledge base to actually make it work as well as I wanted it to. If I was doing the act again and I was going down that route, and I still think it's a great idea. I still think the idea of like having to adapt the music, having to adapt the magic to the music, and everything's just going out of control, I think that's a great idea. But if I was going to do that again, I think I'd make the act bigger. The act started with like rope productions and deck productions and stuff, which worked for a big audience. But then halfway through, it came down onto the table, and I was doing Matrix and stuff, and card productions on the mat, and that's when I kind of think it lost its way a little bit. And I think I'd try to make everything theatrically bigger if I was going to go down that route. And I also think I'd need a bigger finish. I think making the iPod vanish was nice, but I don't think it's a big enough finish. I think you'd need a bigger finish. I think that most competition acts that win, they have that moment at the end where it's kind of like, okay, this is obviously the finale of the act. But yeah, it was a lot of hard work. What do I think of magic competitions? I think they're great. My competition act days are kind of behind me right now. I don't think I'd enter another magic competition. I think the last one I entered was when I won the kind of the in the Midlands in the UK, you have the Leamington Day of Magic, where all of the winners of various different competitions come together, and I won that one a few years ago, pre-COVID. I haven't entered one since then. And I don't think I would anymore. I am tempted to enter the close-up competition at the Magic Circle. I'll be honest, I am tempted to do that. Because I think that is really great close-up competition act kind of environment, in that it's it's to a few people. I think it's just great. And if I did that, I think I'd do well, here's what I'd do. I'd do technical sleight of hand, but I think that the way you'd win it, if I was entering a magic competition now, I think that you need to kind of come up with a theme. I think you need to come up with something very unique that kind of really makes this. I think the days of just going out and doing what you're doing, and I'm going to open up with a coin production, and then a card and a box, and then finish off with a whatever. I don't think that's ever going to win. I think the acts that are going to win are the acts where they've got a theme. You can see it's this act that's been put together specifically for this purpose. So, for example, we spent a lot of time doing Ryland's Harry Potter act, and if you've seen the Harry Potter act, that is also something that I did to music. Me and Ryan and Matt put that, and Drew Perry put that together, all based around music and the concept of, like, this is something that's playing out in this kid's head. In fact, going to the Young Magicians Club and watching every single person compete in that competition kind of showed me that the young magicians in this country have kind of got it when it comes to actually putting a competition act together. And they all did phenomenally well. And I think that's the route that I would take. I would try to come up with some sort of really unique theme, whatever that theme would be, to do a close-up competition. I don't know, like Ryland's working on a new act at the moment, and it's all based around superheroes. And it's another track that's done completely to music, but you're kind of hearing his internal monologue over the track. So it's not speaking, it's all done to music, but you can hear what's going on in his head. Where it's kind of really interesting concept. And I love coming up with concepts like that for Ryland because he loves performing and competing. But for me, I'd consider entering the Magic Circle close-up competition in the future. But I think I'd want to come up with something if I didn't have a theme, if I didn't have something that I could really make the act unique with, I don't think I'd bother. I wouldn't just turn up and do, Craig Petty's greatest hits. I don't think that'd be the way that I'd enter it. I'd either go in to win it or I wouldn't bother at all. So there you go. That hopefully answers all the questions that you've got there. But thanks for reminding me of that act. It's a really fun act. Okay, so the next question is Bryzelfa, who says, "Hi, Craig. Hope you're having an amazing day." I am, thank you very much. 2 questions for you. Okay, we'll take them one at a time. First question, how would you deal with someone catching you out in a VIP table at a gig? Well, I mean, look, all of the tables are important, but I'm guessing you mean, there are certain tables that you kind of think of as, when you're getting booked to do a corporate event, for example, and the booker is on one table along with the managing director and the CEO and the director of finance, you kind of want to make sure that one works perfectly, right? Because you want to make sure that is the table where the booker can see that you're doing a great job. I totally get that. So you're saying, how would you deal if somebody catches you out at a VIP table in a gig? My way of dealing with that is the way I would deal if anybody caught me out on any table, which is my kind of attitude. When I go and perform magic, I want to perform the best, close-up especially, banquet table especially. When I go and perform banquet tables, I want to do the best possible magic I can do, absolutely. But my primary focus is to make it entertaining. Entertainment first, magic second. Yes, the magic is very, very important, and I'm not just going to turn up and do the 21-card trick, but I also want to make it entertaining. And I think that a very important thing for me, and this is coming from performing on stage, is making sure that they get my character when I walk over to that table. So when I walk over to the table, "Hey, how you doing? My name's Craig. I'm not as dodgy as I look. I'm the magician here. You look very excited about this, sir." Stuff like that. That's, it's designed to get them to relax and get them to laugh right from the very early start, and kind of put across that I'm not taking myself very seriously. I'm a little bit sarcastic. I'm going to have playful jabs with people on the table. Doesn't matter who they are. I don't really care. And that kind of attitude because here's the problem. If you're not careful, magic can be presented in a way where you come across as almost better. You feel like you're better than everyone else there. I can do this and you can't. So sit down and shut up and watch me because I am better than you in almost every single way. I have seen many, many times magicians come across with that attitude, whether intentional or not. I have seen it happen. So, if somebody catches me out, I just make a joke of it. And I would do if it was a VIP table or if it was a table of people who, were just there. It would be the same way that I would approach the situation, which is to just turn around and say, let's say they completely busted me. Let's say I've done something and they have completely busted me. They've called me out on it and everybody can say they're right. It'd be a case of, have you ever helped a magician before? Because you're not helping one right now. Oh, right, it's funny for you. I spent 20 years learning how to do this. To you, it's a laugh. Look, right, okay, challenge accepted, skeptic boy. I'm going to show you something right now. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. This is you and me, mano a mano. But deliver it in a way where people can tell I'm jokingly playing around with the guy. And in order for them to understand that, they need to get my character right from the very first second that I walk over to the table. Because here's the thing. If somebody turns around to you and busts you in a trick, there's 2 ways you can react to it. The first way is to go... the first way is to kind of try and get yourself out of it by maybe pretending that what they're saying isn't the case, or double backing on what you're saying, or, whatever it may be, trying to get yourself out of the situation. That's the first way of dealing with it, which can come across as a bit confrontational. It can come across as, like, whatever. It's not the best way to deal with it. The best way to deal with it is to just laugh it off and just go. So if somebody says to you, "Hey, you turned over 2 cards," if you go, "Yeah, I did. Yeah, well done. Good job. Oh, sorry, did you think what I was doing was real? No, and by the way, Santa doesn't exist. There is no North Pole. Well, there is, but there ain't a workshop there with elves in it, just so you know. You know, that sort of thing. If I just turn around and... What can they say to that? Oh, you turned over 2 cards. Yeah, well done. Good job. Give them a big round of applause. You're amazing. You're amazing. Well done. But you turned over 2 cards. Yeah, I heard you the first time. Have you got anything else to add, or should we move on? Like, you take all the power away from them. If they, you know, somebody who wants to bust you, if you just go, yeah, you're right. So what? You know, just move on. Act like it's not important. If you act like it's not important, you know, like comedians all the time will tell a joke that doesn't really land as well as other jokes in their set. But they'll either make a joke of it or they'll just move on, because in a couple of seconds there's going to be another joke that people will laugh at. It's the same with magic. You know, it's why I don't really like, in a commercial environment, doing one trick that builds up over 20 minutes to one finale. You know, and there's just one moment of magic at the end and everything is procedure to get you to that point. Even if that procedure is interesting, if that one moment of magic doesn't pay off, well, you know, you kind of stuffed it. But if you're doing something where there's magic happening constantly and they turn around and they go, oh, it's in the other hand. Yeah, it is. Well done. Good job. Yes, very good. But did you see where that came from, and this and this and this, and you're straight back into it. It doesn't really matter. And that's regardless of whether it's a VIP table or a normal table. You take all the power out of it. You take all the wind out of their sails by just acknowledging it and going, move on, right? So it's part character and it's part joking around with the table once they understand my character, and part taking the wind out of their sails by not giving their heckle any power, if that kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, well done. Yeah, I did. Sorry. You work in accounting, right? Do I come and fuck with your numbers? You know, depending on the type of audience that you've got, you can get away with stuff like that, right? So it's your answer is, how would I deal with it? Just the same way I deal with any table, which is just kind of laugh at it and move on. Okay, so we've got another question from Bryce Alpha. And he says, second question, what have been some of the worst ways you've messed up a trick and how did you recover? Loads. Absolutely loads of ways I've messed up tricks. You know, I don't think there's a single performance where everything goes well. And that's the thing, you know, that's why you don't tell people ahead of time what you're going to do, because you want the ability to change the effect. You know, the perfect example is my friend Nemid Phoenix, who does an amazing think of a card. I don't think that there's anybody in the world that does think of a card better than Nemid. And I've seen him do think of a card and he thinks it's in one of 2 or 3 places and it's not. And immediately the spectator doesn't even know. And he's just like spread through the deck and culled the card and it's in his pocket or in his wallet or something like that. They don't even realize that that's not meant to be the effect, because they don't know what the effect is to begin with, right? And think of a card is a perfect example of that. So in terms of messing tricks up, a lot of the time you can get out of it by just changing the way that you're going to go with this. Like just a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a routine with a flipper coin and the flipper coin snapped. I'd been using it too much, hadn't changed the band, and the flipper coin snapped in the middle of a performance. And all I did is I had a spare coin in my right-hand pocket. I just took the 2 pieces of the coin and I just showed it them. I laid them out on my hand as my other hand went in and got the coin out of my pocket. And I was just like, hey, now you may think that this is a coin that's broken in half, which is ridiculous. This is an optical illusion. You see, everything that you're seeing is not real. Spellbound change. You see, this is a real coin. And it became as impressive as the routine that I was doing. Then I carried on with the routine, but I just made sure that I was just using a different technique to finish the trick off that I was doing. It's the same with anything. It's the same with, you know, I've messed up mem decks in the past. I've messed up multiple times. Like I've just had a brain fart and I just can't remember where their card is, or I've accidentally shuffled the cards or something. So you just go into something else. You know, you cut and you know, like, oh, Jack of Hearts, and you know that's 20, and you cut to the 20th card and the Jack of Hearts isn't there. Well, you've stuffed it up. So now you go, well, I'll tell you what, you shuffle the cards. Wonderful. Now, you could have shuffled that card into any position, right? It could be anywhere in the deck. You can see it's about 3/4 of the way down because you shuffled it into that position. Cull, palm, job done. Whatever it may be. Know about how you're going to recover from that. I did a video on this a little while ago, how to never screw up a magic trick. And I talked about always having an out. And it is very, very important. Always have an out. Always know how that trick can go wrong and what you're going to do to fix that mistake. Because if you know ahead of time what's going to go wrong and how to fix it, then it's never an issue, right? I think the biggest thing I ever did was when I was doing the Holiday Park Circuit, and this is a stage show. So when I was doing Holiday Park Circuit, and you go to a different holiday park every single day, I was doing an illusion show. And I was using something called the split press, which is a prop by Guy Barrett. And the assistant in the show at the time, Anna, we put her in the box and we accidentally, it was a rake stage and I wasn't aware. It was very early on in my career as an illusionist, and I should have checked for this and I didn't. It was a raked stage. And because it was a raked stage, we just made it disappear inside this box, and we walked forward and we were kind of like doing this, and we didn't realize, but the prop just rolled forward off the stage and it went about 4 foot down, smashed the prop up. She ended up with whiplash, and she was really battered up. So basically Russell took her off into the wings because she couldn't perform, she couldn't do anything. And this was the opening illusion. So the opening illusion, she couldn't do a thing. She couldn't stand, she couldn't walk, she couldn't get into a box. And we had to change the whole show. So Russ stayed with her in the wings and looked after her, and I just basically switched to a cabaret show. And luckily I had my cabaret case with me. So Russell went and got my cabaret case, and I literally just worked out my cabaret case and finished the show. And I didn't intend on bringing my cabaret case. It's because we were going straight to another gig the next day. There was a cabaret show. But what I learned at that point was that you always take your cabaret case with you when you're doing an illusion show, because you never know what's going to happen, and it's nice to have that backup. And I have ever since. I always have my cabaret case with me, just in case. So it's a thing, isn't it? It's the old expression. It's fine to fail as long as you fail forwards. It's fine for things to go wrong. It's fine to fail, but you need to learn from your mistakes, and that's what I've done. I've probably failed more than anybody, but I've learned from those mistakes. Okay, so the next question is from Chansu, who says, could you review RubiCup by Ruby Ferez? Thanks. Yes, it is something that I have in my house. It is on my review pile, and I'm looking forward to looking at it this weekend. Me and Ryland are filming a review show this weekend, and I think the RubiCup will become part of that review show. So as soon as I've learnt it, I'll put it on the review show. We're never going to, Magic TV, me and Ryland, we're never going to be the first people, or rarely going to be the first people to put a review up. And the reason is we always want to learn every trick and practice performing it, and then perform it to each other, or perform it on Instagram, or actually perform it at a gig, because we want to know what it's like. So it takes a while to do that. But yeah, we will be looking at RubiCup. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Warsham, who says, hi Craig, here's a suggestion for a future web video that's not covered in magic lectures: transitions, meaning creating logical and smooth transitions between tricks and routines so that you don't ever say, and now for my next trick. Thanks for all you do. That is an amazing idea. I love that. I do spend a lot of time talking about transitions on this channel. I've done a few videos where I've mentioned transitions, but I don't think I've done a video on it in its own kind of state, and I think that's a great idea. I will definitely get on to doing a video all about transitions. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so the next question is from Tom K. Vale, who says, do you think you'll be reviewing the IARVEL Magic watch? I'd be curious on your thoughts on it, especially in comparison to the other watches on the market. Timesmith, Yol Miranda's, the Pitya watch. Thanks for all you do for the community as well. Potentially, but it's a lot of money to spend for something that I'm probably not going to use. I don't even wear watches very often. So I don't... It's a lot of money to spend for one 10-minute review, is the problem. So maybe. I've got a ton of stuff on the review pile. I'm not saying no. It's just, it becomes ridiculous. I can spend thousands of pounds on magic every single day, and it just becomes ridiculous. So I might do, but it's not on my radar at the moment. Okay, so the next question is from Mabe Message, who says, quick question for Craig. I don't have any tattoos, but always thought if I was going to get one, I would want it to do something for me like a kicker to a magic trick. Which one of your tattoos is your favourite magical effect? Not counting sentimental values of the birthday ones. If you could only have one magical tattoo, what would it be? Thanks as always. I think that the two tattoos I use the most are the first tattoos that I've got. I use all of them, but the first two tattoos that I got, I think, are the ones I use the most. So the first one that I ever got was this Rubik's Cube here. And this Rubik's Cube is basically the Brundtwich mix. So I learned Cube 3, and off the back of learning Cube 3, I realised that this mix is very, very, used an awful lot. So I basically had the Cube 3 mix put onto my arm. And then later on, I developed the timing force. And honestly, the amount of times I do this gig at gigs and it freaks people out, because I'll literally just walk over to the table, I'll have a Rubik's Cube with me, I'll have them say stop. Wherever they say stop, I point out that this could have been any position, and then I show that the cube matches the tattoo of the cube on my arm, which gets an amazing reaction. I use that an awful lot. The other one I use an awful lot is this one here. Now, this is actually a birthday one, because Ryan was born on the 12th of November. Thea was born on the 5th of March. But the other thing about this is the finale to a multiple selection routine. So I have 5 people pick cards, but I force these 5 cards. Once I force those 5 cards, I lose them in the deck, and I do a multiple selection routine. So I find all 5 cards in a different way. The last one, the deck vanishes, leaving me with just the 5 cards. And as I find each card, I hand them to somebody to my right, and I say, you're going to be my glamorous assistant. So I keep handing them the cards as I find them. And then as a finale, I say, well, the deck vanished using sleight of hand. I found the cards using sleight of hand, but this is incredible. And I have them spread the cards out in the same fan as this. And I say, look at this. And I hold this next to their hand. And when I do this, or this one actually, to be perfectly honest, if there's photographers at the event, they always take photos of this with everybody standing around holding the cards, or this with the cube. And the amount of people that will take a picture of my arm so they can show it to friends or family members or whatever. I don't know why they take the pictures, but it's very, very popular. So both of those tattoos work really well. And even though I've got lots of other tattoos, those two are my 2 favourites. Okay, so the next question is from Dodgy Wheel, who says, hi Craig, I'm loving Cube 52. Still not got through all the tutorial yet, but watching you do a Katie test and she randomly mixed the cube and you both selected 10 cards. This was a brilliant effect. Is it on the Cube 52 tutorial, as I can't find it? If not, could you release a tutorial for it? Yeah, it's definitely on the Cube 52 tutorial. It's kind of what I consider to be the main routine. When I came up with Cube 52, this was in my head as the routine that I wanted to do. And then everything else expanded out from this point. So it is taught very early on in the first video, I believe. But yeah, that is the main routine. The routine that I did on Katie is the main routine of the project. So it's definitely 100% on there. Okay, so the next question is from Golden Knights Fan 84, who says, hi Craig, this is going to sound really odd and possibly a stupid question, but here goes. We all know that magic is not real in any way, shape or form, although Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny definitely are, lol. But it's like a TV series or a movie. We as spectators will suspend our disbelief for the duration of the performance or the show to get as much enjoyment from it as we can. With that said, have you ever watched a fellow magician or routine knowing full well how the trick is done, but still in the back of your mind thought, this really does look like real magic? For me, trick-stroke performances that did this for me are either The Laser Deal by Leonard Green or Shin Lim's first ever performance on Fool Us. Love the channel and the work you do. Your channel is my top 10 comfort viewing channels for when I'm having an off day. Well, I'm glad I can help. Yeah, I think that Eric Chen's act that he became very well known for, I know he's done a few of them, but that one where he's got the box and he has the line down, and everything's changing as he's pushing it from one side to the other and throwing it from one side to the other. That act, I remember watching that back 100 times and thinking, oh my God, this is one of the most magical things that I've ever seen. I thought that was one of the best close-up acts, if not the best close-up act that I ever saw. Also, Johan Stahl, sleeveless sleeving, watching him compete at Blackpool when he beat me, by the way, with his incredible material. I was left feeling like that was real magic. I was like, oh my God, this guy deserves to win. There's nobody else in this competition that would ever come close. His sleeveless sleeving material was just next level. Two more examples of stuff where I felt that. Benson Burner by Tom Stone. If you know Tom Stone and you know his Benson Burner act, go watch it and just watch it and just go look at all of those vanishes where his hands are empty every single time and he's not even making a big deal of it. And then the production at the end, like the whole thing, it's just like, okay, he's taken every single technique that I know, he's taken every single concept that I think I know, and he's just pissed on it from a great height because he's not doing any of this. Benson Burner is absolutely incredible. And then the other thing that I would say, if you want a stage performance, is the whole of Soma's phone act. I mean, the whole of it is incredible. But if you want me to be specific, that moment where he's just torn up the newspaper and he drops a piece down on the floor and he goes down to pick up the piece, and all of a sudden the music plays backwards and it's almost like he's reversing time, and he just stops and he leans forward in mid pickup, and then he goes back up again, the piece on the floor flies up and the newspaper is restored. It's just incredible. That moment in that act felt like real magic. It really did. So there are a few of the acts that I've seen that make me feel like magic's real. Leah Kyle with her quick change act. Every time I see Leah Kyle, I'm like, how are you doing this? Like, how? Like, it's impossible. There's not even any cover. Like, stuff like that makes me kind of think, oh my God, this is basically real magic. It's real magic. So I experienced that an awful lot, to be perfectly honest, but those are some of the examples. Okay, so the next question is from Erico Mendoza, who says, hi Craig, any plans of releasing a book? It would be amazing to have it in my collection. Yes, my first book is coming very, very soon. It's very different to any magic book that you've ever seen. We've included stuff in there that I've never seen included in another magic book. And it's some of the best material that you will ever see me perform ever, as well as a ton of other stuff that's not trick related. Basically, my goal was to take Magic TV and put it into book form. Everything I like about Magic TV, the live performances, the tricks, the advice, Ryland, everything I like about Magic TV has been pushed down into book form. And it's coming out very, very soon. It's been written and the forward is in place. It's been laid out. It's coming very, very soon. I'm not too sure when, but it's coming very, very soon. And I'm really excited. So many people have asked me to release a book, and it's been a goal of mine for a very long time. And many times, especially when I left the community for a while, I thought this would never be happening. I thought I'd never see the time where I bring out a book. But I have. The time is now, or the time is soon, and it will be happening very, very soon. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so the next question is from Yuri, who says, hi, Craig. Hey, Yuri. How are you doing? I'm very good, mate. How are you? First question. Have you ever used a double-decker deck, and do you know any tricks or routines for it? Yes, I've used a double-decker deck many, many times. I've got a few of them, and I have lots of routines for the double-decker deck. And I've been considering doing a Hows and Whys of the double-decker deck, because I think there's a lot more that you can do with it beyond just what people have used it for up until this point. And I'd like to actually point that out to people. So I am actually putting together a Hows and Whys of the double-decker, but I need to order a couple of other double-deckers first, because I'm going to be making up specific decks for specific routines. So look out for that. It's coming soon. And yeah, I have used a double-decker deck before. Okay, so the next question is again from Yuri, who says, I've seen you often use the Force Bag app. I'm assuming you're talking about Digital Force Bag by Nick Einhorn and Craig Squires and Mark Kirstein. Do you prefer to use that over something like a Svenpad? And if so, why? And when do you use a Svenpad? So that's a great question. Typically, I use a Svenpad in a stage, cabaret, parlor shows. Although you can get Svenpads which are small enough to keep into a pocket, I typically use the Svenpads on stage. The reason is I think that you use the best force in the best possible environments. And I think that when you're doing walk around or mix and mingle, or you're doing banquet, or it's impromptu magic, whatever it may be, using your phone is perfect for that situation. But when you're on stage, I think it's better to have kind of a physical prop, because then people can see. The problem is, unless you're lucky enough to be on stage and you've got like projection onto a massive screen behind you, if you bring out your phone, everyone's relying on the spectator that you're performing to confirming that all of the words are different, or whatever the case may be. Whilst if I bring out if I have like a decent sized Svenpad, I can flick through them and the audience can see that all of them are different and all of the entries are different, or whatever it is that I'm using it for. So yeah, 100% I use a Svenpad. It's typically on stage or in a parlor or a cabaret situation. I don't tend to use it in close-up. In close-up, I tend to use a digital force bag, and I use it quite a lot. I actually put a video up a couple of years ago on the hows and whys of digital force bag. So if you want to know more about my thoughts on that, then you can go check out that video. Okay, so another question from Yuri. He says, do you have a video on tips and tricks for what you do when you absolutely mess up a trick, where you talk about what you would say stroke do in that situation? And if not, would you ever make a video like that? Yeah, I would. I've got a video on how to never screw up a trick. And and it's advice on how to actually structure your act, how to structure your performance, and how to organize yourself pre-performance to make sure that you never actually are in a situation where things go wrong. But things are always going to go wrong, right? And I don't think I've got a video on how to deal with it if you've absolutely messed it up. But what I'll do is I'll put that video together. I think that'd be a really good video to do. So thanks for the advice, and I'm definitely going to put a video together on what to do if you mess up a trick. Okay, so the next question is Michael Stager, who says, hi Craig, thanks again for the advice you've posted and provided in the past. You're more than welcome. I have a problem when it comes to buying magic products, especially tricks. Any advice on how to buy the right product so I just don't have things sitting in a box unused? That would be appreciated. Yeah, I can give you a few pieces of advice. Now, the first is, no matter how tempting it is, don't pre-order something, ever. Because you're kind of buying into the hype. Now, I've said on this channel before, I don't care about hype. I think hype is a good thing. I think that marketing is very important within the magic community. And I think it's really important to market and tell people about their products. You know, I think that that's how the community and the industry continues to grow and evolve. But if you want to buy the right product so you don't just have things sitting in the box, first of all, never pre-order. Second of all, don't just buy things on impulse. We've all been there where we're browsing Penguin Magic and the new trick comes up and it's like, oh my God, that looks amazing. I want that. That is the digital That is the digital equivalent of going around a magic convention in a dealer stall, stop, seeing a trick demoed by a dealer, and buying it without thinking about it. Whenever you see a trick and you like that trick, it doesn't matter how much FOMO is being used by that company. What I mean by FOMO is fear of missing out, okay? Fear of loss. So in other words, hey, we've only got 100 in this first run and we're not going to bring out the next run for another 6 months or whatever it may be. Doesn't matter how much FOMO is taking place. Don't just get impulsed into buying the trick there and then. Go back and give it 24 hours, give it 48 hours, and ask yourself a question. Do you really need it? When you see a trick and you're kind of like, I'm going to buy that right now, ask yourself where you would put that into your act. Where are you going to do that? If you're a professional magician and you do close-up magic, where are you going to put that? Where would that work? Would that work in a walk-around situation? Would that work in a table situation? Where would you put that? The amount of people that have bought tricks and you know, I know that they're not going to use it because it's just not practical in that environment is insane. Like, Ryland is a perfect example. Like, he'll buy tricks and he'll justify it by saying, hey, I'm going to do it on Instagram. And he does an awful lot on Instagram, and I get that. But you got to ask yourself a question. Where are you going to do it, and do you really need it? Have you got another trick that's similar to it? So let's use a couple of my products, okay? Because why not? You've got Evoke, okay? So you've got Evoke. Evoke is an amazing trick. It is. I love it. I do it all the time. You see mind blocks. You've already got Evoke. You then say to yourself, I want mind blocks. Well, before you buy mind blocks, ask yourself a question. Where are you going to use it? If you're a corporate magician, Evoke would probably be better. If you're a family entertainer, or you work in a restaurant environment, or you have kids that use Lego, or you like Lego, or you've got a residency at a Lego store or something, then that would probably be a better effect than Evoke for that particular situation. But there's a crossover, right? Both of them do similar things. There are different things, because Mind Blocks is a Svengali deck as well, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But there is a crossover. So you have to ask yourself a question. I've got this trick. Do I need this trick? Am I going to remove this trick out of my set in order to put this trick in? And if I'm not, can they both coexist in the same set? And if not, when am I going to use one over the other? Ask yourself a question whether you actually need this trick that you're talking about. And then if you can hold off long enough, and do a pros and cons list as well. So, right, look at the trailer and then do yourself a pros and cons list. What's the pros? What's the cons? What's good about this trick? What's bad about this trick? And force yourself to think negatively about it. That's what we do as reviewers. Think negatively about it. Okay, it looks like the perfect trick. What's the problem with it? Because there's going to be a problem. What's the problem with it, right? So that's something that's very, very important to consider. And then look at the Magic Cafe. As much as the Magic Cafe is a love-hate relationship of mine, the latest and greatest form is a great way to get kind of an instant idea of exactly what the trick is that you're going to be doing, right? It just is, because they're going to be talking method, they're going to be speculating. A lot of the time, the creator is going to be coming on that thread as well. So go and check out the Magic Cafe, but then go and check out all reviews. Go and check out the online reviewers, the YouTube reviewers, check out me and Ryland, check it. Everybody, right? Go and check out all the different reviews, and then off the back of that, decide whether you want it or not. And if you do, go out and buy it. But don't rush into it. Don't pre-order. Don't rush into it. And seriously think about stuff before you actually go and hit buy. Okay, so the next question is from Mike on a Box, who says, very nice Q&A as always, with so many different topics. Thank you, Mike. Question, what do you follow, or how do you know what new tricks are coming out? I'm very fortunate that I know a lot of people in the industry, and so a lot of creators will come to me before their trick comes out and show me a trailer. And you know, a lot of the time, if I'm asked for a quote, they'll send me the trick beforehand. So Kev G has got a new trick coming out very, very soon. Kev G and Paul Fowler have got a new trick coming out called Cubify. I've had that for like 3 or 4 weeks. Because I wanted to learn it so that I could do a review show on it when it comes out. But a lot of the time, the creators will tell me about stuff. I'll be speaking to other creators, and it'll be like, oh, do you want to see something I've got coming out? Like, a lot of the time, when you see stuff coming out, I've seen it like a year ago or 2 years ago when it was first in development. But I've also got a very good relationship with Penguin and Murphy's. So a lot of the time, when I'm having a conversation with, say, Lloyd at Murphy's, or George at Murphy's, or Kathy at Murphy's, or you know, Sean or Mandy or Eric at Penguin, or Peter or Chris or Harry at Alakazam, they'll tell me ahead of time what stuff they've got coming out on. We're working on this, we're hoping to have this out at Magic Live. So I just know a lot of people, and I'm within this industry as a reviewer and also as somebody that creates and releases product. I'm within this industry and within this community. So a lot of the time, I hear about stuff before it comes out. Not always, but a lot of the time I do. Okay, so the next question is from, who am I at? Here we go, Divishan Magician, who says, I've done about 10 white weddings now, but I'm thinking of expanding to Asian weddings. Do you do them? If you do you charge the same price as you do for white weddings? Asking because I'm wondering if I should charge less for them, as Asians are generally more price conscious, and also not as used to the concept of a walk around magician as white people are, therefore they might be less likely to book. So I'm using less price as an incentive for them. Do you think this is necessary or not? No, I don't. To be honest, Divishan, I don't think that you should have this price for this. If you're doing the same thing, if you're going and doing walk around magic at a wedding, I don't think you should be charging less for this wedding and, you know, more for this wedding, or vice versa, unless you've got a reason to do so, which makes sense. And I'll give you a story. I'll give you a backup on that. So we had this is going back about 10 years, but when we first started in my company, Slightly Unusual, we had a very good client. She booked us to do, and a very rich lady, very well-to-do, and she'd booked us like about 20 times. Like, she'd booked us for everything. Every time she had an excuse to have a party, she'd book us to send a close-up magician, and she'd recommend us to friends and family as well. And we set the company up on day one as not doing discounts. We're like, we're not going to do discounts. That's probably not a good idea. We're going to charge what we charge. And she was always happy to pay those fees. And then about a year after, maybe a year and a half after starting to work with her, we had a phone call from somebody who had a last minute booking and a last minute inquiry for like literally the following week, and we were free. And they were like, okay, well, you know, we gave them the quote, and they said, well, look, it's only a week away. How much could you give me a discount for? And I remember speaking to my business partner at the time and going, well, let's give them a discount, because if we give them a discount, we're going to get the gig. We've got nothing on. It's unlikely we're going to have anything in. Let's just do it. So we gave them a discount. I think it was like a 25% discount or something. And we went and did the gig. Now, what happened is that this person that booked us was friends with that client that booked us for a ton of work. And she told her that she'd booked us and that we'd given her a discount. We had a phone call from our existing client, furious with us, going, hey, you know, I've booked you 20 odd times. I've recommended you to all of my friends, and you're giving discounts to somebody that you've never used before, somebody who's never booked you before, and all of a sudden you're giving them a discount. Surely if there's discounts going around, it would go to somebody like me. And she was very, very upset and never used us again. And we lost a really important client. And at that point, I kind of realized that discounting kind of makes you a liar. You know, if you're going to discount for one industry, what happens if, you know, you're talking Asian weddings and white weddings, but, you know, I've been invited to many Asian weddings in the past. What happens if I'm at a wedding and, you know, I know somebody that it's very easy for this whole thing to spiral out of control. You set your price, and the price is the price. Now, the Asian community, I do an awful lot with the Asian community. All you have to do is, if you want to work within the Asian community, yes, Asians like to haggle. They really do. It's just a fact. It's something that I've realized through negotiating many bookings with them, that they like to haggle. But the fact is, if they're inquiring with you in the first place, they understand the value of what you're doing. They're inquiring about having a magician. So the fact that they're not used to the concept is immaterial, because they are inquiring for you. So they're used to the concept enough to inquire to have a magician. So now all you have to do is point out that you're the best person for the job. Give them a reason why you're the best person for the job. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. This is my show reel. These are my reviews. This is what this person says. This is what this person says. I am absolutely 100% categorically the best person that you can book for this event. And stick to your guns. And as well as liking to haggle, they are incredible business people, and they will respect you if you stick to your guns. So I wouldn't discount it for one group, one demographic, and not for another demographic. That sort of thing is just going to shoot you in the head. Stick to the price that you've decided that you are worth, and then start building up your brand, start building up your brand identity, start building up your social proof, start building up all of your assets, your marketing assets, your videos, your photos, whatever it is, start building those up so that when they inquire for you, they just know instinctively you are the best person for the job. Okay, so the next question is Jonah Berg, who says, what's your favorite Paul Harris tricks? I would say vacuum cleaner cards. I would say reset. I would say bizarre twist are my top three, I would say. Grasshopper, very, very possibly. the change between a card and a coin. I can't remember what it's called. But it's the one that uses the flat table palm and the hand wash. That is just brilliant. Strange Exchange, I think it's called Strange Exchange. I love that one. Whack Your Pack is great. I love Whack Your Pack. Do that all the time. And his Cards Across. I can't remember what it's called. Las Vegas Leaper, I think it's called. Those are probably my favourite Paul Harris. Oh, and Fizzmaster. I do Fizzmaster all the time, where the carbonation jumps from one can to the other. That's brilliant as well. Any of those, definitely my favourites. Okay, so I've got another question from Divishan Magician. How do you incentivize people to bother to leave your reviews after the gig? I tell them at the gig, I will contact you for a review tomorrow. I do. Some reply to my message, but half don't. I don't think it's on purpose, but maybe they just say they'll write it later, then forget. How do you make them do it without pestering to remind them? You're never going to get everybody leaving a review. It's just not going to happen. It's human nature. Some people just aren't going to leave a review. What I would do is I would automate a feedback form to them. So I would create a feedback form. If I use Infusionsoft and Keep, but you might want to use something like Google Forms or something like that, or there's many different free ways of doing this. But send them a feedback form and just send them an email saying, hey, I really value your feedback. The only way I can improve is by getting your feedback. And put stuff like, hey, how would you rate my professionalism? How would you rate my punctuality, sorry. How would you rate my my entertainment value, whatever. Put as many different things as you want to, and then leave a comment below and send that feedback form out to them. The people that are prepared to fill in the feedback form, they're the ones that are most likely to leave a review. So what you can then do is just follow up with them and say, hey, thanks very much for the feedback. It would really help my business if you could leave a review for me. Here are the links. This is what you said in your feedback form. Just copy and paste this, click on these links, hit submit, job done. Because you want to make it as easy as possible for people. If you just say, hey, can you leave a review for me on Google? Now they've got to find your Google listing. Then they've got to find where to go. Then they've got to press a button. Then they've got to do all this. If you just take their feedback and tell them that they can copy and paste it, and then you send them a direct link to the Google reviews for your company on your Google My Business page. Do the same with your Facebook page, do the same with your Trustpilot page, do the same with any page that you're actually on. Send them the direct link through to those channels. Well, what's going to happen is automatically they're going to be they're going to make it a little bit easier for them, because now it's just click a button, paste, put their email address in, job done, whatever it may be. So that's what I would do. I'd make it as easy as possible for them. You could also incentivize them. You could say, hey, if you leave a review, I'm going to give you a 20% discount or something. It's up to you, but something. It could be, I'm going to send you a free magic download or something that you create specifically then to learn how to do magic, whatever. Incentivize them to leave the review. Now, I don't find that necessary, but I do know people that do that incentive and they give people a discount. Again, I don't believe in discounts really, but you could go down that route. It's completely up to you. But incentivize people or don't, I would make it as easy as possible for them to leave a review. And just understand that it's a numbers game. Just like bookings, you're never going to book every single inquiry. You're never going to get every single client to leave a review. So you want to kind of understand that as well. It's a numbers game. The one other thing that I would do is, you can actually, and this is something that we're considering doing within our company, you can actually get kind of almost like credit card type things now. And they're designed so that you can take them out at a gig and have somebody just scan it with their phone, and then they can leave a review there and then it'll go on your Google My Business page, which is just brilliant. So you can say to the clients at the end of the gig, hey, did you enjoy it? And they're right there in the moment. Oh, brilliant. Can you do me a favor? Can you just take your phone, scan that? Just put in a couple of words like, oh, Divishan was really good. Hit submit, brilliant. And you're getting them to do it there and then. And these things are very common. You can find them anywhere. They do them specifically for Google My Business. But they are very, very useful. We're looking into getting like a ton of them for every single entertainer within the company. So at the end of the party or at the end of the event, they can scan it and leave a review. But that's one way that you can actually go into that. So that's a really good way. You can just have this in your wallet. And then the other way that will work is if you're doing magic in, say, a restaurant, and you go up to a group of people, or you're at a wedding or whatever, and you go up to a group of people and they go, oh, you're amazing. You go, oh, thanks very much. Take your phone out, scan this. Could you leave a review on my business page? It would really help me out. Just scan this, put in a couple of words like Divisham was amazing, hit submit. That would be brilliant. That would really help me out. So you might want to do it at point of, while you're actually at the gig, because if you do it while you're actually at the gig, you've got people impulse. They've just seen you perform. They really love you. If you leave it 24 hours, life gets in the way, something might come up. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Devereux, who says, hi, Craig, always love your channel, thank you. Have you ever done Parasol Mystery? Thanks from South Africa. No, I have never done any type of Parasol Magic ever. You have got my Achilles heel here. I have never done a parasol trick in my life. The closest I've come to a parasol trick is doing Kevin James's card sword, which is built into an umbrella. And that's really cool, but that's probably the closest I've ever got to a parasol trick. So I can't really help you with parasols. It's not my wheelhouse. Okay, so the next question is from Leo Spades, who says, could you explain what Banquet and Cabaret means? I'm from Germany, so I don't know what you mean when you say it. I don't know what a Banquet is. I'm sure it's something I've said, but I don't recognize that word at all, Banquet. In terms of Cabaret, when I mean cabaret, I basically mean a stage show. A lot of the time I get booked for cabaret performances. And when I think cabaret, I think kind of like performing, either as part of an ensemble show or performing on my own to, 50, 100, 150 people. Cabaret is basically another word for a stage show. Banquet, I'm not too sure, to be honest. Second question, what do you think of the Portable Savant by Milo and Bacon Magic? I haven't seen it, but I will check it out and I'll get a review together for you. Okay, so the next question is from Mentalist Bart Ninj, who says, I want to thank you for the extra explanation for Nightshade routine. I'll give it a try with this extra information. Awesome, give it a go. And if there's anything else you need with Nightshade or anything, just let me know. Okay, so we've got another question from Divisham Magician, who says, what are some good visual ace productions, generally, but also specifically to do before the McDonald's aces, where the production can be done without exposing the double faces? Okay, so I've got a really good one on the Netrix, which is like it's called Awesome Blossom, I believe, and it's a Blossom production. It's my favorite production to do, and it would be very easy to do that and keep the backs of the cards hidden so you could go straight into McDonald's aces, and it just looks like you show a deck of cards. It's a nice hook as well, because you say, hey, here's what's going to happen. I've got this deck of cards. I'm going to have you pick a card. Whatever card you pick, I've got to find the other 3 cards of that value, but I've only got a certain amount of time to do it in, and it's you get to decide how long I'm going to do it in by the card that you pick. If you pick a 3, I've got 3 seconds to find the other 3 3s. If you pick a 10, I've got 10 seconds to find the other 3 10s. You get the idea. So ideally, get as high a card as possible, because if you get a high card, I'm going to have more time. I then have them pick a card, and they're going to pick an ace. And you go, well, that's an ace. That could be 1 or 11. What do you want it to be? And they always go 1, and you go, oh, thanks. And you go, right, I've got 1 second to find the other 3 aces. And then you just shake, and they all just appear on top of the deck. If you're a Netrix member, it's on the Netrix. It's called Awesome Blossom. It would be perfect going into McDonald's aces, but it's my favorite kind of visual 4-ace production. It's the one that I love doing. I am actually doing a video at the moment on the best visual ace production of all time. So look out for that. That's coming soon. Yeah, if you want my opinion of my favourite one, it'll be Awesome Blossom off the Netrix. Okay, so the next question is from the Magic of Seth, who says, I've been booked to work at a circus-themed pop-up restaurant, and I'm looking for some thematically appropriate tricks. Any suggestions? I have a pocket-sized colouring book and The Moment by Andy Nyman, but I'm wondering what else might be out there. Okay, top of my head, The Moment is a great shout, by the way. Clones by Michael Close would work brilliant in restaurant environments. You basically just have these cards with pictures of clowns on them, and you're laying them down onto the table, and it finishes. It's kind of like they start with blank cards, and you've got one card that's a clown, and you end up with having loads of clowns, and it's a play on word clown and clone, but it finishes off by a red nose appearing on your face out of nowhere. It's a fantastic routine. So Clones by Michael Close would be a good one. Also you could do a ton of different forces. So you could have like digital force bags set up with like all of the most popular circus acts of the last 100 years or something like that. And you could very, very easily have that built into a force and built into a revelation. You know, there's lots of different ways that you could go with that. Sponge balls would work really well just in general, but especially if you get sponge balls that look like their noses. So you could say, hey, these are clown noses, let me show you something with them. That might work, especially for a restaurant environment. That probably work really well. Yeah. That would be the ones that instantly spring to my mind. I'm trying to think of others. There's going to be a lot of others, but I can't think right now. Yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. Out to lunch would be a good one. There's tons of different things you could do with out to lunch, or use an executive pad if you want to make it look more visual. But there's a load of stuff you could do with out to lunch. Like, for example, you could have clowns appearing, you could have trapeze artists appearing. There's a ton of different stuff you could do by having them sign a card and having them hold it in between their hands. You could even combine that with digital force bag. So you could have a picture of a strongman, for example, on set up for the out to lunch. You could show somebody a blank card, have them sign it, hold it in between their hands, have somebody else pick from a list of 100 different circus acts. One circus act, they pick a strong man, and when they look at the card in between their hands, it's now a strong man. You know, that sort of thing would work really well as well. So if I think of more, I'll let you know, but off the top of my head, those are the ones that spring instantly to mind. Okay, so the next question is from Archie Cox Magic, who says, hi Craig, you've mentioned before on the channel a closing routine you do where all the props turn clear. How many things do you make clear? I was thinking about doing a routine with cards, a pen and a Rubik's Cube, and closing with a clear cube, an Omni pen and a Phantom deck. Yeah, I do very, very similar, but I also do a coin routine, which is based on Ice Coins by Chris Congreve, but it actually uses engraved coins. So what happens is I open a deck of cards and take the cards out. The cards become clear. The box becomes clear. Then I produce 4 coins. I do a coins across. The coins become clear. No, I do a coin matrix first of all, and the coins travel underneath the cards, but they're see-through cards. Then as I pick the cards up, the coins become see-through. And I've been using a pen at various different points, and the pen becomes see-through. And I finish off with a cube routine, and at the end of the cube routine, the cube becomes see-through. So the whole thing has become see-through. So I use the same, but I also use a card box that's clear, and some coins that are clear, and a jumbo coin that's clear as well. Okay, so the final question today is from Logan Serini, who says, I know answering all these questions can be tedious, but it is invaluable. I learn so much every time. It was really cool to learn how you first got into magic. You're more than welcome. I don't find this tedious at all. In fact, this is one of my favorite videos to do. And I really appreciate that you're finding it invaluable. It takes a long time to put these videos together, so the fact that I hear this really makes it worthwhile. And I'm glad that you found out how I got into magic. I will do a big interview one day and spill the beans on my entire life. It'll be a very long interview, but you know, if enough people are interested in it, at some point I'll do that. But no, yeah, they're not tedious. I really appreciate every single person that takes the time to ask a question. I really do. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. Now, don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. I'm going to be back this evening with a review show special. It's going to be on Black Mirror. I'm going to be performing a ton of routines from David Jonathan's Black Mirror project. Make sure you check that out. Go look at the Talk Magic from yesterday. That's really good this week. And also at 6 o'clock, we're going to be back with the Magic Live. There is a ton of content on Magic TV this week, so make sure you keep looking out for it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.